All right, so yesterday we were in Genesis chapter 15. Today we're going to hit Genesis 16. Listen to what it says there at the very beginning. Abram's wife, Sarai, had not borne any children for him, but she owned an Egyptian slave named Hagar. Sarai said to Abram, "Since the Lord has prevented me from bearing children, go to my slave. Perhaps through her I can build a family." Interesting. His wife is going to him and saying, "Go into my slave. Maybe we can build a family there." Now, God had said he was going to build a family through Sarai. He had said that he was going to make this happen. What I want you to see here is this very first point. She is growing impatient. She is saying, "I don't know if God is ever going to do what he said he would do." It had already been decades since the promise at this point. And she's saying, "I don't know. I don't know if it can happen." Maybe you're like that. Maybe God's given you a promise, maybe a commitment, maybe a word. And you're saying, "I don't know if he's ever going to do that. Maybe he's forgotten about me." Going on there in verse 2, it says, "And Abram agreed to what Sarai said." What I want us to gather here is God had given him specific promises, specific truths. And Abram didn't stand on those. He didn't make those commitments. In fact, I see here that it's my hope that everyone here in this audience, everybody in our body of believers, everybody who knows and worships Jesus Christ, that we would have the integrity to stand on what is right, regardless of what circumstances seem to be around us. So look at verse 3, what it says there. "So Abram's wife Sarai took Hagar, her Egyptian slave, and gave her to her husband Abram as a wife for him. This happened after Abram had lived in the land of Canaan 10 years. He slept with Hagar and she became pregnant. When she saw that she was pregnant, her mistress became contemptible to her. Then Sarai said to Abram, 'You are responsible for my suffering. I put my slave in your arms, and when she saw that she was pregnant, I became contemptible to her. May the Lord judge between me and you.'" Isn't that just classic? We aren't patient on God. We don't wait for what his plan is and for it to unfold. Then we deal with the repercussions of that and the frustrations of that. And then we look for somebody else to blame the consequences on. That's what she's done. She had this plan. She goes to Abram, "Hey, Abraham, maybe this will work." When it did work, she got upset about it, was offended. Here's the truth. Our plans always backfire. When God has told us what his intentions are, what he wants for us, what he plans for us, when we go out on our own, they never work out right. They never seem to be good. Verse 6 goes on, "Abraham replied to Sarai, 'Here, your slave is in your power. Do whatever you want with her.' Then Sarai mistreated her so much that she ran away from her." See, rather than taking responsibility for the consequences of our sin, we look for someone else to blame. We look to point at somebody else. What I want us to gather here is sometimes we do those very same things. Sometimes we don't take responsibility for the struggles we make in our own lives. We begin to see a story unfold where she goes out and an angel of the Lord comes and ministers to her and takes care of her. Really is quite a blessing. What we see there in verse 7 through 14 is a point that I would say is simply this: God is faithful, even when we are not. God does the next right thing, even when we haven't. Verse 15 carries on. So Hagar gave birth to Abram's son, and Abram named his son, whom Hagar bore, Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael to him. Think about that. An 86-year-old man having a son for the first time. Wow. Miracle on miracle. Names him Ishmael. What I want to sense here is even when we have a pattern of failure, God is still faithful. Even when we mess up, God is still gracious. And that's what we gather from that message today.